UFC middleweight, Dricus Du Plessis. How are things in Las Vegas ahead of your second UFC fight?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me. Things are great. Things are great. Geez, it's crazy out here. It's like 50 degrees, 40 degrees Celsius. It's insanely the heat. I was here in January last year, and it was actually quite cold because it was winter time. Summer is a whole nother level here in Vegas, but it's amazing. I mean, training at the PI, having all the UFC, I mean, having the Apex, the people, the best surrounding you with all the things you need. It's amazing. It feels great. It's almost like you could call this the hometown of the UFC.
Yeah, I've spoke to a lot of the guys who train out of Extreme Couture, and they always tell me about the benefits of having the PI right on their doorstep and how much
I
it
can't
helps.
believe it. Like we are definitely starting as a team to get some because obviously I do my fight camp at home, South Africa.
Yeah,
Train with my team, staying there. I'm not planning on moving here to a bigger team where like a lot of people do. My team got me here and my team skipped me. We are doing great things and I think we can show the world. But I do go train in the States quite often. I go train at Henry Hooft in Florida, and we are planning because they are amazing there at Sanford, and amazing sparring partners, amazing coaching. It's just an incredible team, and it's almost like my second home. So, and to spend some time here at the PI before fight camp starts. So, around 8 weeks, 10 weeks from the fight, we'll spend a few weeks here just to get my body because the technologies, the the therapy, the everything they have here is just to get your body in 100% shape, making sure your energy, making sure everything is perfect when you start that fight camp. That's a massive benefit to have.
I would imagine as well it's a lot nicer with this second fight having a full training camp as opposed to the
Oh
double short notice of the Perez fight.
no, I don't actually know about that. I think well with the Perez fight, it definitely is because it's it's completely different. It's a completely different feeling with the Perez fight. There was a lot of nerves going in,
Yeah,
thinking this is the biggest fight of my life. This is what I've been working for the past 10 years. So how it came about is we were in a hard lockdown in South Africa for 3 months, and we didn't have a gym. Gym wasn't allowed to be open, so we had all the gym equipment. I moved my gym equipment to my house. I have a garage. We trained in there. I had three of my teammates moved in with me in my house, so we kept on training. But um, my coach couldn't stay with us. It was all virtually. He checked on Zoom, and we would train, and he would give advice and all that. But and obviously, when you're training at home, you can't get the exact same kind of workouts that you do, especially being in a hard lockdown that you do in the gym. It's just not the same because
yeah,
you have a limited space, you have limited people, all that. And this fight came about on the week that the gym was allowed to open up, and I had 2 weeks. So I had 4 days of training in the gym before we had to leave. 4 days of training with my coach, training with the whole team before we had to leave Abu Dhabi. After 12 weeks of basically being in lockdown. So this was the biggest fight of my career, and I always pride myself in how prepared I go to fights. I've never been in a fight unfit. I've never been in a fight where I wasn't 100% prepared. I'm always super prepared, more overtrained than undertrained. I'm always in great shape, always ready to. I always go in there more prepared than my opponent, I believe. And with this fight, that wasn't the case. I was fighting a guy who had a full fight camp on 2 weeks' notice, and I knew I wasn't in the shape that I needed to be. I knew I wasn't in 10 out of 10 shape. I knew I was. Luckily, I kept training, and I always do, and my weight wasn't too bad. That was a big worry with the weight, making the weight. I was quite a bit out because I mean we were thinking we have a fight in 8 weeks, so we were still far out. We were just starting camp, and here we go. We get this opportunity. So that was something in my mind, thinking I have the biggest fight of my career, and I am the least prepared that I've ever been in my whole life for a fight. So that is something you don't. That's a place you don't that where you don't really want to be. And I just said to myself, listen, mate, you're not as prepared for this specific fight right now. Your camp, yeah, maybe, but I've been training consistently. You have been preparing for this for your whole life. You've been preparing for this moment for the past 10 years. I've been training every single day. I've been, it's obviously, consistently training. It's what I do. It's my job. It always has been. I've never had another job. And I just said, well, screw it. What will happen must happen. Let's go out there and go. I'm sure I have 15 minutes in me. I've had 5 years of only fighting title fights, only 5-minute rounds, only 5 rounders. So 3 in 15 minutes, I'm sure I won't die. I'm going to go out there and do what I got to do, get that win. And it was never the plan to finish the fight in the first round. I just knew that I had to fight in a certain way, not to get that, not to make it a grueling, grinding fight. And right now, I'm coming in here with all the confidence in the world in my gas tank. And now, always say, hopefully we don't have to involve the judges in anything, but let's see if Trevin can keep up. And if he does, we are in for one hell of a fight. If he doesn't, I'm in for one hell of a performance. So it's going to be amazing, and I can't wait to go out there with full crowd for the first time. That's also a big difference because my UFC debut was my first fight ever with no crowd. So there was so many things to take into consideration mentally to prepare for that fight. But it all came about, and I said to myself, don't even think about it, because I usually prepare mentally. I have a mental coach. We work hard on mentally preparing to really go out there. And with that fight, it was also the first one in years where we said, don't even think about the fight. There was so much admin to get sorted out. We had 4 days to sort out visas, to sort out COVID tests, to sort out everything we needed, the paperwork, my UFC contract, the biggest moment of my career. I couldn't even take it in. It was just like they sent it over to me. I signed it digitally. I didn't even do the whole contract signing because there was no time for that. So this big, massive moment, and there was no time to take it in. There was basically, the UFC contract I signed. I didn't even know I signed it. My PA just basically helping me out, just basically put it down. I signed. We were constantly between training, between the gym, and just doing paperwork. So
wow.
that big moment, I almost missed it. And then after the fight, that's when I went to go sit in my hotel room as we got back, and everything just came to me, and it was emotional. I started to cry. It was emotional. It was the magnitude thing. I got a UFC contract. I won my first fight by knockout. It was incredible. And now I have this fight too, which is the biggest event ever. And couldn't be happier.
Because you've had so much success on the likes of KSW and EFC, but as you mentioned, the UFC is the pinnacle of MMA in terms of organisation, and all these difficulties that you've just told me about, that must have made that victory against Perez so much sweeter.
Oh, it's and I checked, Perez was ranked 50 places higher than me in the world rankings. That kind of puts a little bit of a dent in your confidence, I have to say. I'm not easily scared. I'm not easily shaken, but he's been famous for the whole mask thing. And what's crazy is when they phoned me on the Tuesday. That was the second day in the gym, and they told me, listen, I saw a call from my agent. It was a weird time for them to call me because my agent, one lives, for both of them live in the States, and we usually schedule a call a day or two before we do the call because of the time difference. And I saw 2 missed calls from both of them, and I thought that's weird. And it was 10 a.m. in South Africa time. I was like, that's very weird. That's very late in the evening in the States. I don't know why they would phone me. Both of them without scheduling a call. And I immediately phoned back while I was training. I just went to my phone to change the song. And I phoned and they said, listen, the UFC phoned. They said, can you make weight for a short notice fight? And I was like, oh, shit. And I just said, yeah, I can make weight. I just said, yes. And they were like, well, okay, cool. You have to make weight. And I said, okay, short notice. All right. when do I fly? Do I have time to go back? Do I just leave? Do I just take my shit now from the gym and go to the airport? How does that work? They were like, no, you have 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh, shit, okay, that's not too short notice. That's okay. I thought they were like, you have to be there this weekend. I thought I had 4 days till fight night. I was like, let's go. And I was like, oh, that's amazing. And I was like, over the moon. I just went to my teammates, starstruck. It's the first of my gym. We've been working for this for so long. Not a lot of South Africans have ever done that. And my coach wasn't even there. It was just a strength and conditioning session. I went to like 2 of my teammates and I said, hey guys, and they said, well, there's another guy also that maybe want to take the fight, but my name is up there. They'll let me know within the next 24 hours. And I went to my team and I went like, hey guys, I think I had that feeling. I just think I just signed my UFC contract. And they were like, what? And I'm like, my agent just phoned me. There's a short notice fight. And everybody just freaked out. And, I finished that strength conditioning session like never before. I think I maybe picked up double the weight that I usually can. And yeah, that was how that moment was just taking everything. And my agent said, okay, listen, you got short notice. And the next day they phoned me early morning and said, listen, you have to fight. I phoned my coach, we have this fight, and everybody was over the moon, great. And we get to the gym that evening to do our session. And they're like, okay, so what's this guy's record? What's this guy? Where is he good at? Where is he ground? And I'm like, oh shit. I never asked my agents who I'm fighting. And so I was over the moon that I'm making my debut, and I never asked my agents who I'm fighting. And I was like, oh, I should probably ask who I'm fighting. And they were like, well, that'll be a good idea. Yes. If you can find out who you're fighting, that'll be great. And I asked my agents who I'm fighting, and they said, what? They were like, listen, that's the first thing we sent you was the picture of the guy I'm fighting and his record and stuff. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even see that. I just saw the messages from when. I saw the date. That was it. I went and I'm like, oh, okay. I saw Markus Perez. I'm like, oh, shit, I know this guy. And that was a very big wake-up call for me. I was like, now I'm fighting a guy who I've never been a fan. Well, I have actually in my UFC career, but never been a fan on a UFC scale of somebody that I really know, somebody that you've seen that gone viral with his face masks and all that. A guy like, a real international guy that went viral for something in fighting. This is the biggest name by far in my career I'm fighting. And I look at this and I'm like, holy shit, I know this guy. This is that Joker guy. This is the guy. And I went on Sherdog and I checked this guy out, and I'm like, well, my ranking was number 77 or 78 in the world, and his ranking was number 27. I'm like, well, shit. I was like, well, this is great. So, there was a lot of factors in that, but it all played out, and it was amazing. It just showed that the stars will align. It did.
I watched the fight back this morning, and one of the things the commentary team repeatedly mention is that you seem nervous in there. You seem to be a little bit nervous. I know that was something that Dan Hardy kept saying. How much did the UFC nerves affect you? Was that something that you felt an extra sense of nerves for?
It's very interesting because I heard that commentary, and Dan Hardy, love him. I'm very sad that he's even the UFC split ways. Big fan of his. Always have been of his fighting, and he's one of the best analysts that I've ever seen. I love his work. And I spoke to them the day before, and it was when I walked in the room, I was like, well, Paul Felder, Dan Hardy, John Gooden was there. I was like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever, speaking to the whole commentary team. And when the fight started, I was overwhelmed, not by the UFC, not by the stage. Obviously, there was the nerves of a fight, always the same. For me, fighting in the EFC and fighting in the UFC, winning is as important. If you don't win in the UFC is not going to sign. If you lose in the UFC, you're going to get cut. So it's all the same to me. There's not a big fight and a small fight. Title fight's just as big as my debut fight for me. There's every fight is as important as the biggest fight for me.
Yes.
So that wasn't an issue at all. The UFC nerves, I don't believe that got me. They talked about that octagon jitters, the first 2 fights. Maybe it is a thing. I don't know, but I don't believe that. I've always had massive immunity. I've always stepped up to a big stage and performed. What did surprise me, what did overwhelm me a little was, and very kudos to Markus Perez. He did great there. Obviously, watching all of his fights when we signed the fight, he's a slow start. He's not a very aggressive, forthcoming guy. And remember earlier, I told you that I didn't have a fight camp, so making it a grinding fight, fitness with a gas tank. He likes to make the fight slow. He likes to make it that's why you look at his record, there's a lot of decisions. He's never been finished, even though he fights big finishers. Because he gets to a point where he strikes on the outside and he'll take the chances, he'll do that. But then he'll get you to a point where he's almost hanging on you on the fence. Even though he's losing the fight, he'll be on the fence, but he's just hanging on you because he's a good grappler. He has some of the, I think he has like some of the top takedown defense in the UFC. He has like a 96% takedown defense. So he will initiate that clinch and make that fight grueling. He won't necessarily win the fight, or he won't necessarily do any damage, but he's just draining and making the fight slow. And that's not my fight style. If you look at my fights, that doesn't happen because I can just scramble out of it. And I don't like to get stuck in a position. And when that fight started, he was smart because he was the veteran in the UFC and he knew this is a short notice fight for this guy. He knew he lost his previous fight. He had to prove something, and he knew that I would be nervous. He knew that this is a big moment for me, and he just came forward and started banging from the word get-go. And that was a smart game plan from him because that's something we did not expect. I did expect it. I usually wanted to take the center. I wanted to take center, and when the ref said fight, in one split second, when I realized, okay, I'm not on the center, he had me up against the fence. He was as soon as the ref said fight, you could see he was the veteran in there and I was a debutant. He just closed that gap for a split second. I was too late and he was on me. And a lot of people said it was nerves because I was moving backwards and I was on the fence, but it wasn't nerves. It was the fact that I couldn't just go forward because he was standing. He had a positive base. He was there to fight. And as soon as if I went forward with and started to fight him and try to get that center back, I would have been in a position where he could initiate that clinch. And that was something I didn't want. I knew striking wise, he had hard kicks. I was surprised at how hard he punched and kicked. He wasn't too fast or too snappy, but he had quite a lot of power behind his shots. And his kicks were the best that I've ever seen them in the fight. Like he has a body kick knockout in the UFC, and he caught me with the first one. I was like, that's cool. And then the second one actually landed quite good. And I was like, well, this guy can kick. He kicked hard. And the first thing I thought was, welcome to the big leagues, man. And then you'll see in the fight, I started chopping away at the legs. I landed 15 kicks in that first round. And I remember Paul Powell saying, I need to pace myself on those kicks because that's a lot of kicks to throw. And I mean, I don't even breathe heavily in that fight. That's the pace I fight at. I always fight. If you look at all my fights, it's a high pace always. And I had to do something to slow him down. So in the beginning of that fight, that first minute, actually, it looks like I'm quite nervous, and it looks like but I was caught on the back foot. And that the first exchange of the fight, he took the center, and I wanted to get off that fence, and he didn't let me. And that's why it looks I had to keep my guard up high because I could see this guy was here to fight. This guy wanted to get me out of there quickly. And I just kept my guard up high and in the beginning and to see what this guy has. He threw hard shots. And watching all of his previous fights, I knew even if the whole first round went like that, that would be his round. Cool. If he just kept me on the fence and just started kicking and landing, because he was landing in that first minutes, he landed half the strikes that I landed. If you go look at the analysis of the fight, but he threw big shots, and it was about three exchanges until I figured out his time. And I was on the back foot, so it doesn't help that I look all nice and I'm flowing and all that, but you're taking shots. That doesn't help. I kept my guard up high. I was fighting with my guard here to see, listen, you know, I was on the back foot. Like this, he won the first battle of taking that center. And the biggest, my objective was get off that fence and do what you have to. So I knew coming forward like that, throwing those hard kicks, hard punches, the way he did for that first minute, that was perfect. I was happy to stay there and taking those shots. I just wanted to get the center back. And knowing that that's not the way he fights. So he was fighting out of character, which means he's not fit in that way. If I knew he wouldn't be able to keep up that pace, I knew he wouldn't be able to keep up the pace. So I was just like, don't try and match him with this. Just try. And I started just every single chance I got, chopping a low kick, getting a kick in, and just making sure he knows I'm there. Making sure he knows I'm there. And in the beginning, he showed total disregard for my kicks. I missed a few because obviously he's still snappy, he's still fit, he still has the gas. And then a few landed. After 3 or 4 of those kicks landed, he started to realize I can't just go forward and put all the weight on his front leg, because he was on his front leg throwing hard shots, throwing kicks, and I could see almost there was at a minute and a half in that fight, you can certainly see a switch in the momentum, because he had crazy momentum in the beginning. And as soon as I had one hard kick land, I landed a body kick of my own, which landed, and then I was on the fence. I landed a good counter right over the top.
Yeah.
And then we were in the middle, and I landed another overhand. And that's when the I could see that's for the first time in that fight where I started going forward. And then I took the middle of the cage, and you know, the momentum started swinging. So it was a combination of being surprised of the way he came out, because that's not the way he usually fought. And then, of course, another thing is he won that first battle of taking the center. He put the pressure on, and that was good to him, and that was a mistake. And that's why every fight you learn. You learn, and you could see he was the veteran. That was a veteran move he did. And you could see I was a David in that first exchanges. But you know, that adversity, that to be able to come back from that was cool. You know, I remember like a few minutes into that fight, I thought to myself, well, listen, you're probably going to lose this first round. If he keeps on doing this, you're probably losing this first round. Figure shit out. I just started looking at the way he punches. I just started saying, okay, I'm not going to go on the attack now. Chop away at those kicks, throw your single punches, jabs, maybe throw a punch hook here. Just check him out for now, because he has a set game plan, and that's to put the pressure on. From the second round, you'll know. So figure him out this first round. Maybe try to get it to the ground. In that first round, I would have maybe later on in the round, if things didn't turn my way, try to get a takedown on him. But as soon as the momentum shifted, I could see it in the whole demeanor. I could see it in my demeanor. I could feel the flow start coming. I could feel the way I figured out his timing, and the fight turned.
Superb. Well, let's move a little bit from the past to the present, or should I say the future. So this Saturday, UFC 264, you will face off against Trevin Giles. And first and foremost, I'd just like to ask how you view Giles as an upcoming opponent stylistically. What do you see with him compared to your style?
I think Giles is a lot of respect for him. I mean, he never talks shit. He's always his fight's always entertaining. I have to say, he's a very gritty guy. He comes out, and I've seen him in fights when he fought James Krause. And James Krause, wow, what a guy. You know, taking a fight on 24-hour notice. He used to be a lightweight. Trevin Giles made his debut at light heavyweight. They meet at middleweight on 24-hour notice. And Krause just goes in from the first second, takes his back, and wins that first round convincingly. That was insane. Yeah. And Trevin Giles, he got out of a crazy choke there. Yeah. And you see that in a lot of his fights. He gets into bad positions, but he just seems to get out of it. So very gritty. He doesn't give up. He's always game. He doesn't look mean. He looks like a nice guy. But like I said, it's never personal. It's just business for me and there. But I believe his style hasn't changed. Unfortunately, in a game that's constantly changing, his style hasn't changed, and he has heavy hands. We all know that. He has fast hands. He's he's very fast for a middleweight. He has speed, but I don't believe he's as strong as I am physically. There's no way. I believe I have the gas tank above him 100%, no doubt about that. And then I believe I have, in striking, grappling, and wrestling, a much more all-around game. He has his good sprawl. We know that. We've seen that. That's the way he wrestles. He tries to get double unders on the ground. I think he overrates his game. He's not afraid to engage the ground. He has good ground and pound. He has hard punches. Yeah, he really does have power in those hands, but it takes a lot more than that. And I believe as an opponent, he has good boxing. He has some hard kicks. He has hard punches. He has fast hands, but it's just very one-dimensional. And that's where I believe I'll be able to get this victory. That's where I think the victory is going to come. Is I just have a more all-around game, and whatever he throws at me, I'll just have a little bit more in the arsenal than he has.
When I watch Giles, sometimes I would like to get your perspective on this. I think one of his most fundamental weapons of his game is his jab. He has a very, very good, hard, clean jab. Do you agree with that? And if so, how do you plan to get around that? I know you can't go into specific tactics, but how do you plan to get around his lead hand?
Yeah, I mean, he has a very powerful jab. He has that stiff jab. He's put guys down with it, but then you have for the guy Roberto Soldic, who has a cannon for a left hand.
Yes.
And I can say, no, I'm just going to slip that jab. No, you can't just say that. You don't know how fast it is, what angle it comes at. Yeah, I'm fighting him, and for all we know, I'll catch him with my own jab. I have a longer reach. I have a stiff jab of my own. I have a nasty left hook. I have a dangerous right hand. I have a much bigger reach than him. And so, I mean, getting around that left hand is, I'm not too focused on that left hand. When the fight comes, it's all about, if you do it, how many times you've seen this punch come. And I've seen a jab come a million times, and I'll get out of the way of that jab. And if he catches me with that jab, so be it. He might break his hand, I believe. But no, it's he does have a good jab, and he does have a good right. He has a lot of good tools. He has a very educated left hand. He has, like I said, great hand speed. But I've seen all that. I have great hand speed as well. And the thing is, he has that jab. If you have a jab and you're on your back, if you have a jab and I'm kicking you, if you have a jab and you have to block the whole time, that jab doesn't help you too much if you're on the back foot. So yeah, let's see. That's how I plan on getting past that jab is enforcing my own striking, enforcing my way of doing things, and being on an angle, being on top of him the whole time, not giving him that fight pace he wants, because he likes to stand and chill a little, throw that jab, single punches. I'm not like that. I'm not giving you a chance to breathe and settle in your rhythm. I'm gonna keep this fight like I always do. Make it a tough fight. There's no time to think. You just have to do. And the way he fights, he almost looks and he calculates and then he throws. I'm not giving him that chance to think about it. Just it's a chess match, and who can I can make. If I can move faster than him, then I'm going to be 2-3 moves ahead every single time, and I believe that's what's going to happen.
Something you mentioned there a little bit earlier I wanted to pick up on was how much pedigree you've got in the game, having won titles at AFC and KSW, and that can only serve as an advantage, most notably in terms of your gas tank with going in them 25-minute fights. Yeah,
I mean, I've never been in the championship round, so
of course.
that's weird. I've had 15, 17 fights, and I believe of the 17 fights, I believe 11 was title fights.
Yeah. Well,
and around there, between 9 and 11, I'm not sure, were title fights. And I've always been willing to go 5 rounds, always been training for 5 rounds, but I've only been in the third round 4 times. Yeah, been in the third round 4 times. And the third round, my record is 2-2. Both my losses came in the third round. But I also have 2 wins in the third round as well, so that cancels it out. But it's never the plan. It's never the plan to go the distance for me.
Yeah.
And there's a big difference in the way you approach a fight in a 3 and a 5 round fight. a third round fight, if you lose the first round, you have to win the next 2 rounds.
Yeah.
If you lose the first round in a title fight, it's not that bad. It's almost a feel-out round. Like, I have no problem losing the first round in a title fight because you have so many rounds to make that up. You can win and lose another one, then you have to win 3. There's a lot of things that can happen in 5 rounds. But in a 3-round fight, every round's important. You have to. That first round is probably the most important round.
Yeah. Yeah.
And winning that first round, to go out there in the second round, not being desperate, to know that you have to win this round to be able to win this fight. That's it's completely different. So in a 3rd-round fight, 3-round fight, you can't go out there and think you're going to save some energy for the 3rd round. That's not how it works. Because the 3rd round, before you see it, you are behind the scorecards, and then you have to chase a finish, and you don't want to chase a finish.
Yeah.
If the finish comes, great, but you don't want to chase.
Yeah. More onto something.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask very quickly, because this is a Conor McGregor undercard. Do you like that potential extra exposure and extra eyeballs on the fight potentially? And if very quickly, who do you have in the main event between Poirier and McGregor?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it, man. A lot of people are like, I know a guy like GSP. All the respect in the world for him. He's an incredible martial artist. He didn't like competing. He didn't like the lights. He didn't like the attention. He loved martial arts, but he hated competing because of the stress it brought him. He hated it. I love it. Now, the stress catches me as well. That's the thing. When I go out there, every time I walk out, I think, what am I doing? What am I doing? And as soon as that curtain opens and I walk out, I'm like, oh, I know what I'm doing. This is why I do this. I love every single moment out there. And even though it's stressful, I've won fights and I've lost fights. Winning a fight, I've never had any feeling like that in the world. It's the greatest feeling in the world ever. And nobody will ever understand that unless you try it. It's unexplainable feeling. It's from my first amateur fight to my UFC debut, it feels exactly the same.
Yeah.
When that ref stops the fight, it's the best feeling in the world. And losing a fight has been in my life the worst feeling that I've ever felt. It's a devastating feeling. It's something that I wouldn't even wish on my worst enemy. It sucks in fighting. It's such a crazy sport that there's always going to be a winner and a loser. There's no second place, no third place. There's one guy who's on top of the world and one guy who's on rock bottom. The highs are high. And I mean, there's ways to cope with a loss. I understand that, but I hate it.
Yeah.
I hate it more than anything in the world. I hate losing. Losing in life in general, but and to lose a fight to me is I hate it. It's my whole life, and I dedicate my whole life to this and to win and to be the best. And yes, winning is not everything, but putting up a show, fighting the way you can, and doing what you know you can do at the best of your abilities. That's what it's about. And going out there, there's always a chance of losing. That's how it works, but it doesn't make it any better. But for me, I love the sport as a whole. I love the martial arts. I love the lights. I love everything about it. I embrace that. I love the fans, people cheering, people going crazy for the same thing I love. Watching me do it and going crazy, paying money to see it. The lights, the cameras, they're flying me over to Las Vegas to do what I love. And the world is cheering, my country is cheering, the people are going crazy back home. Yeah. I have an amazing support system, the Stillness Riots going mad, friends, family. The whole country is united for this. It's almost like we're playing in the Rugby World Cup. It is insane, the amount of support. And I love that. I always have the big fights, the lights, and being on the Conor McGregor undercard, it's amazing. I mean, I'm a massive Conor McGregor fan. Always have been from his first fight. When he had his first fight, I was in the UFC. I was maybe 2-0 or 3-0 as a pro, and I was young, very young, and I loved it. I loved it, everything about it, and to be it's just a testimony of where my career has gone. And my first UFC fight I've ever watched live was Conor McGregor versus Cowboy here in the T-Mobile Arena.
Wow.
And I was sitting in the crowd, and I was like, "This is amazing." That was the greatest night of my life. And here I am at the same arena 1 year later, a year and a half later, Conor McGregor undercard, and fighting in the same arena. It's funny how the world works. If you believe it and you work at it, here we are.
Yeah.
And it feels amazing to be able to do that. And I love to be that. And what I take away from this is you can be jealous. I love the fact that it's on a Conor McGregor card because the whole world's watching.
Yeah.
But there's a little thing inside me that hates the fact that I'm piggybacking off his success. I'm taking a little bit. Now I'm getting more credit because I'm fighting on a Conor card, and it's inspiring, very inspiring. Yeah. I look at it and I'm like, I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy where people say, I want to be on his fight card.
Yeah,
I want to be the guy that headlines the fight card that everybody wants to be on. But it's coming. This is just a little taste of what it feels like. This is almost, I believe, this is the universe sending me a signal saying, listen, look at it, and take it, take the experience in, take how you feel right now, because I'm very privileged and I'm so excited to be on this card. But at the same time, I'm thinking, I want to be that guy. I don't want to be this guy that fights on the prelims that's just happy for a little breadcrumb to be able to fight on this card.
Yeah.
I want to be the guy that's at the top. And I love Conor McGregor, and I want to thank the UFC and everybody whoever is involved that got me on this card. It's amazing. But I'm a little bit jealous of Conor McGregor, if you can call it, and Poirier. I'm jealous that they get this kind of exposure. I'm jealous that they are they are obviously all eyes are on them. They are the main event. They are the superstars of this event, and I'm jealous of that. And the only way to beat that is to work, to do what I do, and to become them, to become the guy that's the superstar of the event. So that's what I take away from this. Is a lot of motivation to keep on going. It's a lot of motivation to be better, to perform, to go out there Saturday night and not only win, but doing it in spectacular fashion. That's unfortunately what it is. This is show business and a sport, 50-50. You have to entertain and you have to win. And that's what I'm going out there to do always. And like I said, I'm taking a lot of motivation from this. And while I'm feeling this little bit of jealousy, I can't wait to meet both of them. I'm a massive, massive fan of both these guys. I've met Dustin, never met Conor in person. It's amazing. And I think Conor is going to take this one. Dustin's a very nice guy and a brilliant, brilliant fighter. I just think that Conor has this figured out. I think Conor maybe underestimated the all-aroundness of Dustin in the previous fight, and I think he's going to bring that all-around game back to it come this fight, and I think he's going to put up a clinic.
I think that jealousy that you mentioned there is a healthy jealousy, because I think anybody who doesn't feel jealous about not being the main event and is happy to be on the prelims or happy to be on the undercard will probably more than likely stay there for the entirety of their career. And there'll be people all
absolutely
down this card who will have that similar idea that you're not happy being on the undercard, and it's the beauty of MMA is we don't know where people are going to end up, and that's kind of why we watch, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a relentless sport. The sport is so unforgiving. I mean, it's why we love it as humans. The human nature of the uncertainty of not knowing anything can happen at any moment.
Well, I'll ask first for one final question, Dricus. Give me a prediction for Saturday night. What happens when you're locked in there with Trevin Giles?
I think I go out there and I think the fight space is gonna be insane. I think it's gonna be a very, very high paced fight. At least if it comes down to what I can do, it's gonna be high pace, high output. I think we're gonna see an all around MMA fight within the first round. I think it's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of things happening from striking to grappling to wrestling, scrambles. I think everybody's gonna see whatever they'll see in a 25-minute war, they're going to see in that first 5 minutes. And if you can keep up for that first fight, great. Then I see myself finishing this in the second round.
Superb. Well, it's a fantastic fight between two fantastic fighters. And to be quite candid, I'm not quite sure why it's not getting the love it deserves, because your two guys' resumes and fighting styles can only make for a fantastic contest. And I wish you the best of luck in that fight.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that.
Before we finish, Dricus, how can people find you on social media?
Check me out on Instagram at Dricus Du Plessis, Facebook page, Dricus Du Plessis, that's the fan page, and also on Twitter at Dricus Du Plessis. Yeah, check it out. Daily updates. See what it takes, see how to build up. and get on a train before it's late.
And I give this opportunity to every one of my guests at the very end of the show to the floor is yours to say whatever you like, whatever you want to sign off with.
Well, I mean, just want to be a big thanks to all the fans worldwide. A lot of fans in the world. I'm actually flabbergasted by the amount of support I get from the Polish fans that I made in KSW, the American fans that I made for my last fight. Well, fans all over the world. It's amazing. And then, of course, my home country, South Africa. Thank you so much for backing me. Thank you so much for supporting me. I haven't seen a single bad comment. I haven't seen any bad vibes coming my way. It feels amazing to be here, to carry my country's flag, to have a whole country on my shoulders. That pressure, I won't let you down. And thank you for the support once again. See you guys Saturday night when we show the world what we already know.
Super. Great talking to you today, Dricus.